tell me a little bit more about your.
All right, go ahead. What you need, Mark?
Tell me a little bit more about your podcast.
So it's not a podcast. It's just as right now we're just like interviewing people, and we're interviewing people like yourself who are like high members of society, plastic surgeons. We got another one of my friends. She is a pathologist. She's going to be on. Got a couple other like physical therapy friends
Awesome.
that's going to be on. Some real estate friends, but I was like, I got to get Mark on here, man. He's a cool
Yeah, I
guy.
appreciate it. No, I'm happy to be here. Happy to do it.
Yeah, we're happy to have you on, man. So could you tell us about how you decided to go to Idaho? It's Idaho. Um, and what was the big plan there?
Yeah, well, good question, Mercer. Well, we when we got out of residency, both my brother and I, we had this vision of opening up a practice together. It's kind of like a life dream, and I guess professional dream. And I think I've talked to you about that.
Mhm.
When we first met, I might have talked to you about that. And it was just a matter of time, where and when. And kind of, as being employed has a lot of downsides. So we kind of wanted to be on our own, and it was just trying to figure out where. So we looked at different areas like Florida, like in Tampa area and so forth. And I think about 4 years ago, I visited Idaho. I have a good friend here in Boise, and I really love the area. It's fairly underserved. There are not many plastic surgeons. There are a lot of need for both, aesthetic and reconstructive services here. So we kind of visited multiple times, and my brother visited, and we said, why not here? So with the help of my friend who's still here, we kind of set up a business, across the country. And this place is great outdoors, nature, like everything I like. And again, not as competitive as like say Beverly Hills, California, or Los Angeles, or New York, or Vegas. That this is kind of a almost a low hanging fruit, so to speak. A lot of opportunity.
But I seen that there's a lot of people moving to that area. A
Oh
lot.
yeah, it's one of those areas, man. A lot of people from like we in Florida don't know too much about Idaho because it's so far away. But on the West Coast is actually a pretty popular place to visit and move. Boise specifically, just because it's beautiful, it's growing, and some people are tired of dealing with politics in California, and just
Mhm.
a lot of folks are moving here.
Mhm. So Mark, what do you think was the most? So you went from being a regular person to a doctor to a plastic surgeon. What made you decide to take that route? You could have been anything in life. Why'd you take that route?
Probably because I wouldn't be good at anything else. Well, I knew I wanted to be in some sort of healthcare field. To be honest with you, like I thought about, because as you know, we like yourself. We're both into sports. Like I wrestle,
Mhm.
and I kind of wanted to pursue a field in healthcare. I thought about athletic training, physical therapy, and then I didn't really think I had what it takes to like go to medical school. And then kind of my brother, he got really into science and kind of pushed, this whole competitive twin thing. And he kind of pushed the envelope. He's like, I'm going to med school. I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. So I started studying hard and decided to go that route as well. And then when it came to choosing specialty, I was like a fourth year med student, and I was thinking actually about going to urology initially. But then after some experiences there, it wasn't really my cup of tea. And so I kind of, went out in the community and found a plastic surgeon, like and scrubbed in some cases. I was like, man, this is really neat because it's both art and science. Plastic surgery. It's kind of combination of the two. And then I got another rotation in Hopkins, Johns Hopkins, in plastic surgery rotation. Did one there as a fourth year and really fell in love with the specialty and applied for a
Mhm.
residency program. I was lucky enough to get in. So, and then from then on, the rest was history, right? So it's just kind of going through the motions there.
Yeah. So what do you think was the hardest part about being a plastic surgeon?
just delayed gratification, I would say, is just kind of a, having the faith that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Because as as doctors, we take a lot of loans, and residency, you make, less than minimum wage when actually you think about it.
Yeah, with all the hours. Yeah.
Yeah, and then if you think about it too, like you don't really know what you're doing until you've been practicing for a few years. So it's really just kind of seeing your friends, buying houses, buying cars, and you're still like in your early 30s, and you're feel like a student.
Yeah.
So and you kind of have to believe that there's something, for you in the future.
Hmm.
And then you come out of residency, you have hundreds of thousands, usually, of dollars in loans, and then you're still learning. You're still trying to figure it out, and people still question you. It's like, do you really know what you're doing? You look young.
Uh-huh.
Uh, so I think it's not until you're like in your late 30s, early 40s, when you really start to capitalize on what you've set out to do in your investment, if that makes sense.
Hmm. So I got to ask you this question, Mark. If you could go back, would you do it all the same, or would you change anything?
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely do it again.
You
Yeah.
do it all over again.
Do it all over again. Because, if you think about it, man, and you probably know this, like life is a journey, right? Because there's no final destination if you really think about it. It's like
Hmm.
there's always something else. And I feel like, at least professionally, with the field like plastic surgery, there's always another challenge. You're never truly like done.
Hmm.
So that makes life interesting. That makes my professional life exciting, and I'm never bored. So I think I would definitely do it over again. I mean, you can definitely do other things and become wealthier faster,
Yeah, you
and
told me that.
but I may get bored. Like if I became a banker or a businessman, I'm not saying I would be a good one, but if I did, like, sure, I may be making just as much or more earlier in my career, but you know, I don't know if it would be that exciting to me.
Hmm.
Here I'm changing people's lives. You're doing something that is really making an impact on somebody's health and appearance and function.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. So, Mark, how do you stay up on your bodybuilding, man? Because you're still jacked, man. You look exactly as you you look exactly as you were when you're like 20 as you look now. While
yeah,
being,
thanks.
how'd you manage all that?
Well, I mean, like I see you working out all the time. You know what it is. It's just consistency, man. It doesn't take. You just have to come in. I go 4 times a week, sometimes five, maybe only 4 times a week. And then we push hard, we work out hard. I try to, as you get older, I'm in my 40s, so I have to do more mobility. Like
Hmm.
I'll wake up in the morning and I'll do 20 minutes of mobility and stretching just so I don't get hurt. I make sure I get like 5 meals, usually get 5 meals throughout the day, enough protein, try to get as much sleep as I can. And the rest is just coming in, doing hard training and make sure hitting all the body parts, and it just becomes a lifestyle.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
and you gotta love it too, as you love working out. So,
Yeah.
you just do what you love.
So I gotta ask you this, Mark. How do you do with authority, man?
With authority, like what do you mean exactly?
Like a
Police?
ball, like just what's your idea of authority? Like that's like one of the questions we ask is
Sure.
like how do you deal with authority? Like some people don't like being told what to do, some people got to be like their own boss because they don't like authority, like someone over them. So
Yeah,
like,
that makes
how
sense.
do you handle it?
Um, well, I was employed for almost a decade at University of Florida,
Hmm.
and it had its ups and downs. I definitely sometimes felt like there were certain things that were decided that I didn't agree with. But I think, and my background, right? Like I grew up in Soviet, like communist Russia in the 90s, 80s, early 90s, and um, you can't say too much. You can't be too vocal, otherwise you get in big trouble with the government. They can lose your life. I mean, not maybe in the 60s, they used to, 60s, 70s. I wasn't alive back then, but like people used to like get killed because they would say something. So my point is that I think culturally, I don't like to vocalize certain things because that's just how I was raised by my parents.
Yeah.
Like keep it with DL. So that keeps me out of trouble, even if I disagree with a lot of things. You know, so I think I deal with authority pretty well, but I'll tell you that being your own boss is way better. Yeah.
Hey, Shelly, you have anything you want to ask?
What are things that make you trust other people? What makes you trust someone?
Good question, Shelly. You know, again, too, you know, I'm kind of, it takes me a little bit longer to trust someone because I think also with my background, you know, growing up in Russia, like you're always think that people are out to screw you, or people are out there to you know, they're not really what they are, you know. So I think it's just time and seeing consistent effort, somebody who's loyal, someone who is continues to show up and do the right thing. You know, I think there are no shortcuts. So you can't just come out and say, well, I'm a good guy, I'm a good person, or whatever, good girl. Like I do the right thing. Like you have to prove it, right? So it's time and consistency in doing the right thing, and then you start to trust that person.
Thomas, you got anything?
Yeah, sure. Do you like when it comes to plastic surgery? Do you have like something that you specialize in, or what would you say? Like what kind of surgeries do you mostly do?
Yeah, thanks for asking this question, Thomas. I kind of used to do a variety of things, and Mercer knows when I was at the University of Florida, I did a lot of reconstructive surgery, like for breast cancer, even head and neck cancer, trauma surgery. Now I do more cosmetic stuff. I still do some reconstruction. So it's mainly aesthetic breast surgery, like breast augmentation, lifts, reductions, and then facial plastics like rhinoplasties, facelifts, those type of things. So now I kind of focus more on aesthetics and you know, some body contouring as well, like abdominoplasty, liposuction. So those type of things right now.
Gotcha.
Do you miss doing the crazy stuff?
Not as much as I did at UF, because the problem is it's like, you know, insurance companies, they don't, you know, I have to think about the bottom line and obviously like paying my employees and making a living. So unfortunately, you know, these crazy cases that I was able to do at UF, I can't afford doing them here just because I don't have enough, like insurances don't really reimburse well for it. And then I don't have residents anymore. I don't have the support that I did at University of Florida to do these crazy reconstructive cases. I'd like to, but I just, right now, it's just not really a good option to do those.
When it comes to your job, is there something like what are like some of the difficulties, and then what are like some of the rewards of doing your job?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I would say there are a lot of difficulties. I mean, you know, as a surgeon, especially like as a business owner, you don't just have to think about clinical aspects of patient care. So you have to take care of patients and take care of them well, make sure they do well. However, there's also pressure on, you know, productivity. Like you have to make an income, you have to run a business. So sometimes those difficulties arise, like, you know, with a bank or, you know, with insurance companies that they're not, say, like you do big surgery and they're not paying for it, right? So you have to have your staff like call and make sure that gets paid, or employee quits, right? And then you have to find a new employee that's doing a vital task for your practice. And obviously clinically too, you know, sometimes you get a tough case and the patient, you know, I actually think I have low rate of complications and I do safe surgery, but once in a while you do get some difficulties where patient just doesn't heal well, like they don't adhere to post-operative instructions. Like I operated a bodybuilder once for gynecomastia actually, and they went out and started exercising like the next day and got a hematoma. So it's hematoma is bleeding, and then, you know, kind of have to deal with that, and you get calls in the middle of the night or in the weekends. So that's definitely sometimes makes the job like, you can't just check out. You can't just go home at 5 p.m. and say, I'm done. You're always on the hook. You know, like right now, if I get a call, one of my patients, God forbid, gets a complication, I mean, I got to go in, I got to go.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, I'm a slave to my patients.
Yeah, I remember the times like we'd be at the gym and they call Mark in, man. Like they call him in. He'd be working out, working out, and he had to go suit up and go right on in for a case.
Yeah, luckily it doesn't happen very often, but it happens.
Yeah. It used to happen more at UF, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, because I was doing more complex stuff.
Yeah. So how's your relationship with your brother? That's an interesting one. You guys are twins.
Yeah, you know, believe it or not, it's really good. We professionally, we actually work really well together, because there's certain things that he cares about that not that I don't, but I'm a little bit more relaxed, and vice versa. He's very like, you know, he's ophthalmologist by training, you know, and he did a specialized in oculoplastics, but so he like micromanages a lot of things. And he's very like certain little detail oriented. I'm more of a big picture person. So I think kind of works out pretty well, because he takes care of the like little things, and I'm like more of a big picture guy. So I think we balance each other out, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we get along. We're good friends, you know, because we're both, you know, he's also likes to work out. He likes to outdoors, and he's a good guy. So
yeah. Who's the more competitive one of you two?
Man, that's a good question. We used to be very competitive with each other, man. In our 20s and even 30s, we used to like try to outdo each other, like in sports or, you know, professionally. I think both of us are very competitive, but I think now it's different. You know what I mean? Now we try to kind of be more of each other's like best ally and supporter, you know, where I want him to succeed, because his success is my success, essentially, because we're in the same practice. So I think I channeled that in a healthy way, where I obviously I want to be successful, but I want him to be successful. So it's like, if he is very successful, it doesn't make me less successful. You know what I mean? So it makes me more successful, especially now that we're in practice together. So it's a healthy competition, if that makes sense. But obviously, I don't want to be the loser twin where, you know, he's like, oh, you know, this guy is like superb, and his brother is kind of mediocre, you know. So I don't think I'd want that, but at the same time, I definitely want him to be successful.
Yeah. What do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, hopefully still alive. And I mean, I guess I can see myself, but professionally, you mean?
Well, just overall, where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think just continuing to expand my practice, and you know, pursuing fitness, you know, bodybuilding, and just overall trying to stay healthy. And you know, developing my relationship with my brother, his family, and hopefully maybe building my own. I'm not sure about that though, but that's a whole different subject. But in general, just continuing, you know, kind of growth professionally, and hopefully, you know, physically, and just as a person, just keep growing, you know.
Yeah, you've been doing great. Thomas, you got anything?
Sure. Yeah. What's a skill you think everybody should have?
Man, Thomas asked the challenging questions. So I like it. Well, I think the biggest skill, I mean, I'm sure you guys have read the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. I think you said it best, man. Like, with just dealing with people. It's just that's like 90% of everything. Like, you can be the greatest, most successful person ever, but if you don't know how to deal with people, and it's always a challenge, right? There's so many different personalities, but like, it doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter how much money you have or how good you are. If you're just a bad person, or not a bad, but you just don't know how to talk to people, and you're not really gonna. No one's gonna care.
Mhm.
So I think just dealing with people and being able to make friends and definitely influence people in a positive way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, Mark, what do you want to be remembered for?
Man, this is like very existential. Question. Yeah. Hopefully, I don't like Mercer finds out I die next week. It's like, well, I talked to Mark and he said he wants to be remembered, but I think I just want to be remembered as someone who made a difference, in society to some degree, and a good person. I think that's probably the most important to me, and that I made some people's lives better just through through my work and professional achievements. So,
Mark, what is a skill that you've noticed about yourself that other people don't have? Like, what has contributed to your success about yourself
that other people don't have?
that you think that most people probably don't have?
Oh man, I don't know if I'm that special, man. But let me think about that. Well, I think I don't know if I can say most people don't have, because I think there are a lot of very successful people and a lot of people that are very driven. But I think I am a type of person that's I kind of keep my eye on the prize type of thing. Like, for example, if I set out to do something, I kind of latch onto it and I try to, kind of like, the saying, beat the dead horse to death type of thing. So
I've
that's
never
where
heard of
you're,
that.
yeah. So that's where you're just trying to perfect a certain skill or a certain hobby or, uh, whatever you set out to do. So I do have that quality where I'm very meticulous. I try to really, really perfect anything I decide to do. Like plastic surgery or fitness. I do the best I can, right? Or whatever is important to me. And I don't know if everybody has that, because I think a lot of people have, especially in the new generation, not to sound like an old guy, like, oh, the new guys, but at the same time, like, there's a short attention span, and people kind of move from one thing to another, and they can't it's hard to focus. I think the key to being successful in anything is to find something that you love and stick with it. And it's going to be ups and downs. It's not going to be like this linear, right? It's going to be like this, the path to success. But if you find something that you love, you stick with it and you perfect it, you're going to be better than most. You're never going to be the best. It's hard to be the best, because I don't even know what that means. There's always going to be somebody better than you. But at the same time, if you find something that you love and you stick with it long enough, most likely you will be successful at that.
All right. Well, Mark, if you had 3 wishes, what would you wish for?
Man, now Mercer got the hard questions for me. 3,
yeah.
I guess long and happy, healthy life. I think everybody wants that. Great relationships with people that matter to me, like my friends and family. And then I think just continued professional growth and hopefully just achieving new heights and in my career. I mean, I don't, so I mean, it sounds kind of basic, but I don't have any kind of weird, like, I want to have a 3,000 square foot boat. I don't have those wishes.
All right, Mark, if you couldn't be a plastic surgeon, what job would you have? You have
If what?
Any job in the world. What job
If
would you have?
if I couldn't be a plastic surgeon,
Couldn't be a plastic surgeon. We're wiping away. You're not a plastic surgeon. What job would you have and why?
like if I couldn't be a doctor at all, or if I
No doctor.
was that
You can't be a doctor.
okay, I have to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, I'll probably be like a physical therapist or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be good at that, physical therapist or athletic trainer. I thought about it. They just don't make any money, man. I mean, it's a cool job. Maybe physical therapist and maybe coach the team or something, like
Mm-hmm.
coach like a wrestling team or did like personal training on the side. Like I kind of enjoy that type of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, physical therapy, I think is a good job. I think I would enjoy that.
Yeah. Shelly, you got anything?
Who's someone famous or well known that you relate to?
Oh man, that I relate to. Like relate to as far as like I look up to or somebody, is that
No, like
what
that
you
you feel is similar to you.
oh man. Trying to think. Similar to me. I don't know if there's anybody like they're, let's see. I don't know if any movie stars would make sense because I'm not in any movies. I do look up to characters like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? He's not. I don't think I'm similar to him, but I do look up to him because I feel like he's achieved a lot in different aspects of his life. The Rock is definitely someone I look up to. I think he's definitely one of those guys that have done a lot and tries to influence society in a positive way. And like Dwayne Johnson, obviously, and let's see. Yeah, I mean those two come to my mind. I'm not sure if they're similar to me. I don't think I have much in common with them, but I think I do look up to them. So but I can't really think of a celebrity that I'm similar to. I don't really know if that's me. So
Yeah.
How
Thomas,
do you
you got anything?
behave,
Oh,
sorry. How do you behave when you get upset?
when I get upset, I think how do I behave? I try to as you guys probably know, like going through med school, especially residency, and in like mid to late, like I was like resident in 2006, 2012, and it was pretty rough. You don't get treated very well a lot of times, and you just kind of get it was a good residency, but it's definitely not for if you're extra sensitive. So it will make you upset a lot. So you kind of learn how to kind of hold it in a little bit and just kind of find ways to internalize it. So I think I don't yell and scream. I don't like show it. But I think I kind of just try to figure out a way to solve the problem. So I go into this mode where I'm trying to figure out, if I'm upset about something, I'm like, how do I fix it? How do I, if it's with another person, trying to find common grounds or trying to figure out ways to improve our communication. And sometimes I just get quiet and try to kind of, instead of just talking a lot, trying to figure out a best way to approach the situation and kind of maybe give it a little bit of time, not just jump into radical or drastic decisions and say something I may regret later.
Mark, you said you don't really like details that well. So how do you navigate like life? Not like being a doctor is very detail oriented. How do you navigate that?
Well, I mean, I was saying I don't like details. I mean, I am oriented in certain things. Like when I'm operating, obviously, I'm very detail oriented and meticulous. It's just, I think I'm not the type of person that would, like, I try to look at big picture, certain things, like how to run, like running my business. I try to make sure that, you know, I hit all the big things. Like, I'm not gonna micromanage what like somebody said, or, you know, how they looked at me or anything like that. That's what I meant.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I don't get into those like little minutia stuff with people or my business. Like, I try to look at the big picture. I do look at details, but I try not to dwell on them, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So yes, you're right. To be a doctor and to be a good doctor and a surgeon, you do have to be detail oriented. But I think just in life in general, sometimes you have to kind of see the forest from the trees. And
Mhm.
that's, I guess, that's what I meant, is like I try not to get lost in little details and try to see the big picture.
Mhm.
Pay attention to the details, but not dwell on them and not get lost in details.
Mhm. Yeah. What do you think about like the past and things like that? Like, what's your
Like,
relationship with the
what do
past?
you mean?
How do you think about the past? Like, what's your, like, when you think about the past, what do you think about? Like,
Well, what I
past
think about is
experiences?
past is the past, right? Like, you can't change it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to, I think about the past as a learning experience.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever happened in the past, I try, if I made some mistakes or something happened, I try to learn from it. And if I did make a mistake, not to make them again. It's okay to make mistakes. I don't think it's okay to make them twice,
Mm-hmm.
the same mistakes, because you had, you know, you should learn from it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look at the past, like I said, as a learning experience. It's something that already happened. I can't change, so I try not to worry about it, but learn from it.
So, a question. What's something you think you need to work on?
Where do I start? So I think I'm my own worst critic. I think one thing I need to work on is you know, sometimes, you know, something will happen to me, either professionally or in my personal life, and I think about I can't let it go. So I think letting certain things go and just kind of moving forward, learning from it, moving forward, just it kind of ties into what I just said earlier. So that's one thing I think get better at, is just kind of like moving ahead and not really dwelling on the past. Um, I guess some other things is sometimes I feel like I could be more organized in certain things, just in general. Um, let's see. I think I can pay attention sometimes. Sometimes I kind of like a little bit oblivious to uh, people around me. Like they'll tell me something and I'm not exactly sure, and I don't really try to get into it too much till I find something out. I was like, oh man, I didn't know that's what they meant, or that's what they're about. But I'm kind of a little bit oblivious to. I mean, Mercer probably kind of knows. He's hung out with me enough.
I think we're
Um,
both oblivious, though. I think we're both too oblivious.
yeah. Sometimes I don't really read people as well as I think I should, or just understand them. You know, kind of like in my own. I'm thinking about my own like what I need to do tomorrow, or some cases, or my business, and I don't really pay too much attention of like what, you know, maybe something that's somebody's telling me or trying to tell me. So I could get better at that, for sure. Um, and I think also sometimes taking more risks. You know, sometimes I'm a little bit risk averse.
Mm.
Which you know, in life you have to take risks. I've calculated risks, but you have to take risks, because otherwise you'll stay. I mean, going out in practice was a big risk, so I'll pat myself on the back for that. But I think just in general, certain other things, I think you can always take more risks, and you know, and kind of see what happens. You know?
Right. Mark, you said like you're oblivious because you are always thinking about the next move. Could you explain more on that? Is that something you've always been doing, or is that just something that you got because you're a plastic surgeon or a doctor? Like, is it just?
I think it's part of my personality, honestly. I think I've always been like that. I may have a little bit of attention deficit disorder. Not on that all, but like it may be a little bit of that. I think it's just part of my personality, and I think my dad has it to like a large degree. And I think, and not to make it as a kind of like this excuse. And I mean, I compensate and I deal with, like, I try to be better about that. But sometimes I do feel like I'm hyper focused. It could be part of it too for my job, because I am definitely, like, when I have to operate, I do have to hyper focus, right? I can't be like paying attention to like what somebody's saying while I'm cutting on somebody's breast, or doing some microvascular surgery. Like, I have to be hyper focused. So maybe part of it is that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a combination.
So as a kid, you think you were same way? Like,
yeah, to a degree, I think I was. I'd always be like the last one in class to find something out, like always. Like, everybody already knows it, like they're already doing something, and I'm like, oh, is that what's happening? Is that what we have to do? And like everybody already knows. So I'm always like the last one, I feel like, to learn a new thing or realize something.
Is your brother like that, or just you?
I think he's a little bit better. I think he maybe to some degree, I think he's a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think plus he's married with kids, so he has to kind of be a little bit more on his toes, but when it comes to those things.
So yeah, because there's a specific, we know based on personalities, there's a specific personalities that kind of like always are looking at things in the future instead of being in the present. So we wouldn't classify it as like attention disorder. It's just like some people are just what we would call future focus. Instead of present moment focus, or like some people like past focus, where they like to talk about the past and stuff like that, and they're more like making sure they're comfortable and things like that. And there's the future focus people that's kind of like trying to figure out like worst case scenarios or whatnot. I'd say it's pretty stressful.
That's possible that I'm more future focused, I guess, and then sometimes versus being in the present. So that's actually very possible. Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. How can if we had anybody who was interested into consultation with you, how would they go about doing that?
Well, they'd have to fly to Idaho. but yeah, it's easy to reach us. There's a website. Our website, right? Like Lane Gold Institute for Plastic Surgery.
I'm gonna make sure I put it in the comments. Never know. Mark's a pretty good surgeon. He's one of the best at Shands. He was one of the best at Shands. He was the first guy to do, I think, the butt to tit surgery at Shands. And
as a gluteal flap, for the breast. Yep. Reconstruction.
And I mean, that was Shands is a huge institute. So like I think they're like in the top. I think they're number 2 in Florida. So that houses a lot of people, and for him to be able to do that, to be the first one, to do that and step his name there, that's a big thing there. Man.
Yeah, I remember when I did it, I told you guys we were working out together or something. I'm like, I did this flap.
Yeah, Mark's a cool guy, man. It's always been. Shelly, how you feeling? Yes, mute. Shelly, you there?
My bird in the background, my dog. So, I'm just
Yes,
gonna ask, what do you think the biggest problem is with humanity?
Oh, that's a good one.
With humanity?
Oh, damn, Mark, you just got hit with that one.
They don't recycle enough. I don't know. There's too much global warming. I mean, listen, there's a lot, but I mean, I think what honestly, here's my thought on that. And this is something that I somewhat think about is, if you look at population, Earth population, right? Like in 1900s, like early 1900s, it was like what, 1 billion? Guess what it is now? Like 7 billion, right? So if you think about it, this is crazy, right? Because it took us where from, I don't know if I don't want to challenge anybody's religious beliefs or whatnot, but anyway, it took us, we can all agree, millions of years to get to 1 billion, but then it took us another 100 and just a little bit over 100 years to get to 7 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So how does that work, and what's going to happen another 100 years?
Mm-hmm.
So the growth is exponential. So I guess one of the biggest challenges that I think humanity will face, maybe even after we pass, like maybe not in our lifetime, is overpopulation. Because where are those people going to go? What's going to happen? Are we going to be like China? We have to build, high rises I don't know, skyscrapers. I don't know. Maybe you can answer. Maybe you guys can answer it. But that to me, that seems like that may be a problem.
Well, unfortunately, the actual population is actually starting to go down because people aren't having kids as much.
Okay. Maybe fortunately, you said fortunately or unfortunately.
I think it's unfortunate because we're not being able to repopulate. Like, I think it's like what's the rate? Thomas, is it 1.2?
What the current birth rate?
Yeah, in the
Or
US, like 1.2 or something.
I think it might be a little bit higher than that. I think some European countries are 1.2. I think we're a little bit higher, but you also have to keep in mind we have a lot of like immigrants, and the immigrants often have a lot of kids. Like Latin Americans, so on and so forth. But for a lot of people, yeah, it's people are having 0 kids, 1 kid, maybe 2 kids, if that.
So it's causing. I know China had to reverse their laws on the whole kid thing because their population was dropping, and they want to get ahead of that. They want to get ahead of that.
Well, maybe I'm not familiar with it, but I just like that's one thing. Some once in a while I'm like, man, if the trend continues like it did in the last 100 years, maybe it was just like a growth spurt because of the advances in medicine and whatnot.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just slowing down. Maybe it's a good thing it's slowing down. Who knows? Because I don't know if the Earth can handle 20 billion people. I'm not sure. Think about all the waste. I think about my recycling. What I'm recycling every week. I'm like, holy crap! Like, where does this all go?
Oh man.
Yeah.
What are some things that cause you to feel stressed out?
Stressed out?
Yeah.
Where do I start?
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
yeah.
What's that?
Plastic surgeon.
I figured that was coming. There's a lot of things stressing you out.
Yeah, as a surgeon, I think a lot of it is like, just worrying about patients, worrying about practice, just making sure everything goes smoothly, and no one gets the things, like another thing too, as doctors, I think a lot of people don't realize it. We feel like, especially in America, we're kind of under the gun. Any patient can technically sue you for anything, right? And it's super stressful. Like, you can literally get some psycho who just decides of some like it could be a minor complication or not even the complication, something they don't like, and next thing you know, there's a lawsuit going on. And luckily, if you have a good lawyer and you have good malpractice insurance, it should be, most of them can settle and not go to court necessarily, but still, things like that stress me out. Like everything we do in medicine, a lot of things we do is defensive medicine. You have to document everything. You think about the lawyers, everything you do. Like, so half of my time I'm documenting, and then a lot of it is just for the lawyers, essentially, in case something does happen, like, and you have proof that you did the right thing. So that's a little annoying, that's a little frustrating, it does stress me out. I think that's the part of my professional life, or I guess professional practice, that I don't necessarily enjoy. So if you have a very difficult operation, sometimes you kind of like really stress out, make sure if patient heals well, they everything works out well. So
yeah. So Mark, what caused you to get stressed outside of work?
Outside of work, right? So I'm trying to think. I don't stress too much outside of work. I did have some and you know a little bit of my past, some relationship issues in the past, you know, that kind of was stressful. You know, I went through divorce about a year ago, year and a half. No, year. So that was pretty stressful, right? So it wasn't fun. And you know, I had a injury I had to deal with about 10 months now ago with my tricep. I injured my tricep. That was pretty stressful. Everything got fixed luckily, and I'm back to normal. But
what did you do to tricep?
I was actually training for a show, and 3 weeks out, I did some stupid. You know how like when we you do incline dumbbell press. You know how you guys put the dumbbells on your knees, and then you kind of throw, you know, you kind of put them up to press, right? And what I've used to do in the past is I would start. I don't know if you remember working out with me. I would start from the ground and just throw them up to catch them. Like start from the ground and throw them out from the ground to pressing position, right? To incline pressing position. So like I had 100 pounds in each hand, I threw it up, and I guess like I kind of caught it like kind of weird, where like I lost control of it, and I caught it, and I felt a pop in my elbow, and there was a ruptured tricep tendon.
Ooh. So what you do? Just ice?
I had surgery. No, I had surgery.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I had to get a pin, and everything worked out really well. I have full function, and my strength is pretty much back where it was. But I mean, I don't do stupid things anymore like that. But that was definitely stressful, because I was like, am I going to be able to operate even like with that? Like, how is that going to work?
Oh yeah, because you got that. Oh damn, yeah. You gotta take.
But everything worked out. Luckily, knock on wood, everything's good.
Yeah, I don't know why you ever did that instead of just put it up there and then go from there.
It was dumb. It was dumb. It was not something I should have been doing.
Yeah, you've been usually pretty technical. You're usually the one warning me about the future of the shit that I'm doing. And
yeah, that's one thing I was doing that I kind of realized that, man, I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. I kind of nowadays I kind of stay away from shoulder press now too. I really stay away from any like shoulder press really, because it's like, man, you really don't really need to do all that for the shoulder. Like I kind of keep
it. Really, it depends on your goals to kind of realize that, especially as you get older, man. Like all the explosive movements and even like the really heavy weight. You know, I'm not sure. You know, you can pull it off in your 20s, and you get in your 30s or 40s. You really have to be careful.
Like now, if like I used to like bench. Now if I'm heavyweight, I will like brace my elbows, because they'll start hurting from heavyweight. Like you just can't.
Yep.
Can't maintain. It's the saddest part about life is that you get fucking. You know.
Yeah, but you have to adjust. It doesn't mean you have to stop. You just have to adjust your training and, you know, things. You have to adjust things. It doesn't mean you have to stop. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard because you know you've always been flying a certain way to the sun, and now you got to like.
Oh yeah.
Fly at a slower speed.
Yep. Well, just gotta. Yep. That's the way it is, man.
And it hurts your ego.
But at least you're flying, right? At least you're flying. You're not. You're not. Yeah.
It hurts your ego too, you know. Just like.
Well, you got to put your ego aside.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Trust me. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I remember being able to go in the gym and work out for 4+ hours. Now, like it's just like not feasible. Like it's just 2 hours is the most, and I'm out. You know.
I remember. Yeah. Well, you know, you gotta find ways. You can still stay in great shape, and you are. You know, like I mean, you just have to, you know, kind of adjust.
Tom, you got anything?
I'm gonna ask, how do you feel in social situations with strangers?
Strangers, I think I'm pretty good. I think I don't have like a stranger anxiety. I think I can strike up a conversation, and you know, I have to talk to strangers all the time, like as a physician, right? Because like strangers walk into my office for a consultation, I have to like talk to them, and then like in 10 minutes I see them half naked. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know, like to examine it. So it's like I have to be comfortable like in those in that, right? Like so. So I think I'm pretty social, and I can talk to random people without being, you know, shy or, you know, afraid of saying something, or, you know, so.
Has that always been the case?
Probably not. You know, I would say probably before med school, or even in college, I might have been a little bit more shy and like, get like kind of lost for words when I see someone new or have to start conversation. Like I didn't know where to start. I think it's gotten better. I think I think it's like a trained thing. Like you train yourself to just be comfortable in those situations when you're with strangers.
Mark, did you ever deal with performance anxiety?
Performance anxiety, like when it comes to what?
Just like getting on the spot, like when you're younger or anything like that.
Oh
like
yeah.
competitions and stuff like that. Did you?
Yeah, I think I did have it to some degree. Like if you, because like with wrestling, right? You have to kind of like wrestling. There's everybody's watching you, and or when you have to give a talk in front of a lot of people, right? You get a little bit of that. I think I kind of got over it. So now it's I'm a little more relaxed. I kind of just pretend like I'm in my own living room and I'm just speaking, So it's just one of those things. I think the more you do it, the better you get at it, right? So I think it's I don't think it comes naturally to a lot of us. It didn't come naturally to me, but I think it's just doing it over and over again. The 10,000 hour rule, right? The Malcolm Gladwell.
You read that book,
right?
Outliers?
Yep.
That's a great book, man.
Yeah, I think
I love
you
that
might
book.
have recommended it to me. I can't remember, but
I think I did. I
read it.
recommend it to you. Yeah. Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah, 10,000 hours. You probably were closing in on 10,000 on that plastic surgery.
Oh, probably, yeah.
But 10 years, that's more than 10 years, I think. Shitload of hours. Shitload of hours.
Yeah.
Thomas, you feel good?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, Mark, you were pretty tough, man. You were pretty tough. So what we noticed is that you are actually introverted, man. So what introversion means is that, like, you rather people come to you instead of you go to people. You want them to keep you in a loop. You primarily like to respond and not initiate new things or initiate conversation, anything like that. So you're primarily a responding person. You're also direct, man. So there's two metrics. There's direct and informative language. Like direct language is specific, concise, and to the point. Like they mean what they say. They're not like trying to give you extra information or beat around the bush or anything. And that's what informative is about. Informative is like beating around the bush, giving you extra words, like kind of passive. You kind of got to figure out what they're saying. You're direct. So with you being direct and responding, that makes you a finisher. And you kind of pretty much talked about like no matter what you do, you got to finish and being like very focused on that. And you're also like a TEFI user. So you're all about achievements. You understand what you like. You understand what drives you, your passion. You also like to reference like outside sources, like Malcolm Gladwell, things like that, like those type of things. So that would make you a TE user. That would be eliminating you down to two types. This was where it really got tricky because we were on the fence with this one, right, Thomas? But you had to come with that your future focus. So you tend to worry about the future more than the present or the past. So with that being said, the only personality type that you could be is INTJ. I don't know if you've ever taken a test or anything, but
I've heard of it. Yeah, INTJ.
You've gotten that before?
INTJ.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of it. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but yeah.
Yeah. So Thomas and Shelly are both INTJs as well. Thomas, you want to talk anything about like what INTJs suffer from and things like that?
Well, I mean, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I often they worry a lot about what could potentially go wrong. They could be big on contingency plans. I mean, you seem to do pretty well for yourself as far as like picking a path and sticking with it. But I think very often INTJs can actually struggle with picking a path. And instead of just picking a path, they'll have like multiple potential paths that they might go down, just in case the first path or the first 2 or 3 or 4 options that they have don't work out. I always have something to fall back on. But yeah, again, like, yeah, you for whatever reason, whether it was being competitive with your brother or, whatever it is that you picked a path, you stuck. And that's actually something you said is that you just, I think a lot of people just struggle with that. I struggle with it. A lot of people do is just find something you love and stick with it. And you did that, and it's worked out for you. But yeah, a lot of INTJs, I think they really struggle to do what you did. But yeah, they struggle with sometimes they could be overwhelmed about what could go wrong. Some of the things you worried about, like overpopulation, I've worried about that myself. My views have changed over the years, but that used to be like a super anxiety for me. More so, not so much the overpopulation, but like worrying about food production and then worrying about like a climate catastrophe of some kind. That used to like really occupy my thoughts, like when I was like a teenager. Like I thought like the world was going to end basically. And I did that to myself to a period of time until I couldn't take it anymore. I'm like it's not even worth worrying about. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. It's nothing. You can only do so much. But other things that you said, I think at times you struggle to read a room, or you're just I can't remember exactly how you put it. Like you're like the last person to find things out, and like so yeah. I mean, INTJs, they can struggle socially. I mean, sometimes they don't understand like they struggle to read the temperature of the room, or they struggle to
social norms.
Social norms. Yeah, that's partially what I'm getting at. So yeah, not always, but yeah, sometimes they could do things that just like other people look at them weird, like why would you say that, or like maybe your emotions like aren't in tune with everyone else's emotions. Like I know it'll happen to me sometimes, like I might be like with a group of people and like they get all excited and I'm like, what are you excited for? Or like I'm just not in tune with how other people feel.
Yeah.
Whereas you ever notice that? Or
Yeah, no, sometimes, yeah, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like yeah. I think it's a very good. It's pretty accurate, yeah. What you guys are saying, yeah.
Yeah, and the best thing is that you guys are like super focused. We're going to finish, Thomas.
Well, I mean, that's actually, that's kind of like the last thing I was going to say is that, well, yeah, we could be super focused. It's what Dario Nardi, he's like one of the biggest names in like typology. He calls it's like a Zen state almost. So maybe like the reason you're missing things, it's not necessarily because you don't read the social norms. It's just like you're focused on the future, and you're just kind of like in your own little Zen state, and like you're not really paying attention to what's going around you. At least that's what I noticed with myself.
Yeah.
So
No, that's probably accurate, yeah.
Yeah. INTJs really are very focused people, like very, very focused. Like rarely anything can like get in their way of what they're trying to achieve. If they're going for something, they're gonna get it, like no matter what. They really care about perfecting things. Like it's all about perfection with them, like perfecting the perfect process or the perfect system or perfecting themselves. Like, so they really take that on, and by doing that, they kind of transform themselves. Like they may see a vision of themselves, and that's what starts with them. It's the vision first.
Yeah. No, that's actually very accurate. I think you guys accurate, but it's something that and you guys are right. It's something I noticed about myself. But it's about trying to work on that and making sure, because I think part of the things you can struggle with is with that type of personality is not letting other things get behind enable, right? Like, so also because as adults, when you become an adult, there's like not only one thing you can focus on. Like you can be like, for example, the best bodybuilder. Like if you focus on bodybuilding, right? You can become this amazing bodybuilder and like just win shows, but then like all other aspects of your life may suffer. Right. So the key is to kind of realizing that like, yeah, well, it's great, but then what about other things? So that's one thing I'm trying to right now, and I was getting older, trying to like work on is, hey, well, yeah, great, you're a good plastic surgeon, you're, whatever, workout and then they fit, but like, what about other aspects of your life too? And that's that's hard. That's hard to balance it.
That's gonna be the toughest part for any NTJ. It's not going to be about like being successful. It's about those relationships, maintaining relationships and being in the right relationships and stuff like that, because we're so focused on like I'm an ENTJ. You guys are INTJs, but we're so focused on things that like our relationships kind of like get us in trouble, because you got to maintain those relationships with people, and like some people aren't as understanding as you would want them to be. Like I feel as though like I don't have to talk to Mark for 5 years, bro. We still have the same friendship, but some people can't handle that,
Well, that's what happened with not to get into deal. That's happened with my ex-wife. you know, and that's one of the
Mhm.
reasons, because I was so focused on opening our practice, and I told her and I didn't mean anything, and she definitely didn't like the fact that I wasn't spending enough time with her or paying her enough attention, and that's kind of what happened, what ended the relationship.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
not to that's a different, so not to bring that up, but you know.
Oh no, that's fine, man. This is that's like we said, like those are things that INTJ struggle with.
Yeah.
They struggle with. It's always going to be the relationships, and it's also health, you know, because being so focused sometimes, and you could really be so focused on something that you want in the future that like you're doing everything and you're not paying attention to your body as well as you're going through that, you know.
I think I'm doing okay with that. I think
Yeah.
that's something I'm doing okay with. But yeah.
Yeah, like some people they can get so like some INTJs can be so future focused that like their bodies like can't take it, you know, because they're so like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever. Like these guys are so into like 15, 20 years. They're seeing that far. They're not even
Yeah.
here. Even though you see them right here visibly, they're not here mentally, you know. They're some future playing with AI and
Yeah.
alternative reality, whatever he is pushing for now with the metaverse. You know, those are some other INTJs. But yeah, Thomas, you want to Enneagram? Yeah.
Well, we think you're Enneagram 6. I think Mercer could probably explain it better than I can. But
So Enneagram 6 is it's
let me put the light on.
so they're more about projecting into the future things that could happen, worst case scenarios, things like that. They're big on anticipation, problem solving. They kind of want to do their own thing. They aren't the biggest like with authority. They don't really trust people. They don't really trust authority or anything like that. Very, very analytical people. They can really be part of paralysis analysis. A lot of times they don't like to take risks. You know, they really have a tough time taking risks. Like they're not gonna bet the farm. Like they're gonna do it in a very calculated way. Like, you know, where it's almost like they're taking no risk at all, you know. They can really struggle to take a risk. That's something they generally will try to work on later. That's pretty much it, man.
Good. No, I like it. Good analysis.
But
I have a question. Do you think you and your brother have similar personalities, or you think you're really
he's definitely very calculated. He's definitely very like he definitely like not the type of, I think we are similar in certain ways. But I don't know. I think though he is a little bit more I don't know, sometimes he like surprises me. He thinks about all these little things that I don't think about. You know, sometimes he'll think about, you know, I think it's maybe has, because he does have a family and kids and everything, kind of like he's been married for now over like 10 years or something, and then he's able to keep it all together, you know, like he's still fit, you know, he works out, he's successful, you know, and professionally, and he's got family, kids, all that stuff, so maybe he can kind of live, you know, maybe a little bit more organized in those things. I don't know.
yeah, seems as your brother is more detail oriented. Like he's more when you like you said, like you're more big picture oriented, and he's more detail oriented. Might be
Yeah.
because there's like another there's like the INTJ and then there's the ISTJ. Your brother might be an ISTJ.
Yeah, possible.
Yeah. Well, Mark, it's been great, man. Thank you for getting on here, Mark. I'm gonna put the post. If you guys ever need plastic surgery, Mark is the guy to go to. I don't know exactly what your brother does, because it's all one.
He does
right?
a lot of eyelid surgery, and he does some facial plastics too. But yeah,
I seen him do like the eyelids, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." Like,
yeah,
will they take like do they just like scalp all that there, or how does that work?
yeah. He can, like, you know, those lower eyelids, upper eyelids, like lifts and brows and stuff like that. Yeah.
And how does that differ from what you do? Because wouldn't that also?
Well, I do some of that too. I'm sorry.
Wouldn't that also go in the realm of plastic surgery?
Yeah, it does. You're right, but it's a very subspecialized field. So he was actually an ophthalmologist by training and did a fellowship in oculoplastics. So he's focused. He's focused mainly on eyelid surgery, you know, brows. He also does some very specialized stuff. Like he took out this big tumor yesterday from this lady. They had a, you know, lacrimal sac tumor, so where it produced tears. You know, she had like a big mass there, and he like broke the bone here and like took it out and all kinds of stuff. So it's very specialized. Like if somebody has tear duct obstruction, he'll also take care of that. You know, so it's a very subspecialized area of, I would say, plastic surgery, or you know, so he kind of, and I'm more broad. That makes sense. Like I'll do kind of operate all over the body. So he doesn't do like breast augmentations or anything like that, or doesn't go below the neck. So nothing below the neck.
Oh, so he's probably not as busy as you, right? You're probably a lot.
No, he's actually getting pretty busy. I mean, he's getting like specialized referrals for those things. But yeah, I got busier faster because I was just more broad. So.
Yeah. You probably like your schedule's probably swamped.
Yeah, I got busy a little faster. He's getting there. He's catching up.
Yeah, I just figured because yours is more broad, and
yeah,
you know, his is more like specialty, so it take a little bit longer. But his
yeah,
is probably more expensive, I guess.
Yeah, per hour of time, yes, it's he can make more money per hour of, like, for example, like the eyelid surgery. A lot of times it's faster, but there's sometimes pretty involved. So yeah, but it kind of works out, evens out.
Yeah, it's a team, man. Well, Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. I have to see you around, man. I may have to take a trip out there, man.
Yeah, vice versa. Yeah, thank you for having me. And yeah, anytime you guys want to visit Boise, hit me up, you know, on Instagram or whatever. So.
All right, Mark.
Yep. Yeah, good catching up, man. Good to see you guys. Nice to meet you, Thomas and Shelly. Good
Thanks.
luck.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yep. Okay, talk to you later.
All right.
Yep.